Right, let's talk about something truly spectacular. On July 4, 2025, a day normally reserved for questionable fireworks displays and celebrating our independence, the US government decided to celebrate by signing something called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Now, with a name like that, you might expect it to deliver free puppies and a lifetime supply of tacos to every American. Instead, it was a legislative Trojan horse stuffed with policies that effectively kneecapped America's progress on clean energy. It was less big and beautiful, and more like finding a giant angry scorpion in your breakfast cereal. It promised a return to some golden age of energy, but what it actually did was set us on a path to a more expensive, less independent, and surprisingly dirtier future. The whole thing was sold to the public as a brilliant move towards state self-sufficiency. That's a fancy way of saying the federal government was washing its hands of a massive, critical industry and telling each state, good luck, you're on your own now. It's like a parent canceling their teenager's health insurance and then telling them to be more self-sufficient by learning to perform their own appendectomy using YouTube tutorials. This wasn't a plan for energy independence, it was a blueprint for energy chaos. By yanking the rug out from under our own renewable energy sector, we didn't just stumble. We did a full-on faceplant while our biggest economic competitor, China, was sprinting ahead in the same race. This wasn't some minor policy tweak either. This was a seismic shift. The law, signed with all the fanfare of a national holiday, was essentially a declaration of war on wind and solar power in the United States. It took direct aim at the very technologies that were making our country a leader in the global energy transition. For years, the U.S. had been slowly but surely building up its renewable capabilities, creating jobs, and lowering energy costs. Then, with the stroke of a pen, we decided to slam the car into reverse, roll down the windows, and throw the keys out onto the highway. The consequences of this decision are not abstract or distant. They are landing squarely in the wallets and lives of regular Americans, right now. So, as we sit here in late 2025, watching the fallout unfold, it's critical to understand what this act actually did. It has nothing to do with making bills more beautiful, and everything to do with making them much, much bigger. It's a story about how a single piece of legislation managed to jeopardize our economy, our jobs, and our future energy security, all while handing a massive gift-wrapped advantage to China. This isn't just a political squabble in Washington, D.C. This is a kitchen table issue that determines how much you pay to turn on the lights, what kind of car you can afford to drive, and what jobs are available in your town. And believe me, the picture is not very beautiful at all. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of this legislative catastrophe. The centerpiece of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act was a colossal $559 billion cut from the clean energy sector. To put that number in perspective, that's enough money to buy every single person in the United States a top-of-the-line ride-on lawnmower, whether they have a lawn or not. It's a truly staggering amount of money to just evaporate. This funding was the lifeblood for thousands of projects across the country. From sprawling solar farms in the desert to offshore wind turbines powering coastal cities. This wasn't trimming the fat, this was amputating limbs with a rusty saw and calling it a diet. One of the most devastating parts of the bill was the abrupt termination of the federal solar tax credit. This credit, which gave homeowners and businesses a 30% break on the cost of installing solar panels, was a game changer. It was scheduled to wind down gradually over the next decade, giving the industry time to adjust. Instead, the new law put a guillotine on it, effective December 31st, 2025. This is like telling a pilot mid-flight that the runway they were planning to land on will be replaced by a giant pit of crocodiles at midnight. The suddenness of this move sent a shockwave of panic through an industry that had been methodically planning its future based on existing law. But the assault didn't stop there. The administration also began actively blocking new clean energy infrastructure. It's one thing to stop funding the future, but it's another thing entirely to actively sabotage it. Permits for solar and wind projects were suddenly canceled. Critical grid transmission initiatives, which are basically the superhighways needed to get clean electricity from where it's made to where it's used, had their funding pulled. This created a massive bottleneck, Imagine building a bunch of fantastic new factories, but then canceling all the roads leading to them. It's a strategy so self-defeating it's almost impressive in its short-sightedness. So you have this three-pronged attack: gut the funding, kill the incentives, and block the construction. It was a systematic dismantling of America's renewable energy ambitions. While the rest of the world, especially China, was doubling down on investments in clean technology, the United States decided to have a bonfire and throw its own blueprints into the flames. This wasn't just a policy change, it was a declaration that America was no longer interested in leading. It was a retreat, plain and simple, and the consequences of that retreat are already becoming painfully clear for everyone. Now, you might be thinking, okay John, sad story for the polar bears and the wind turbines, but what does this have to do with me? Well, get ready, because this is where the ugly reality of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act comes knocking on your door and asks for your credit card. The most immediate and painful impact for regular people is happening right where it hurts most: your monthly electricity bill. For years, the falling cost of solar and wind power was helping to stabilize, and in some cases, even lower, energy prices. By slamming the brakes on these cheap power sources, we've been left at the mercy of older, more volatile, and far more expensive options. The administration isn't just letting old fossil fuel plants die a natural death. It's putting them on life support and sending you the bill. Using emergency orders, the government is forcing aging, inefficient coal and gas plants to stay open long past their expiration dates. These are the clunkers of the energy world, the power plant equivalent of a 1982 Ford Pinto that smells like burning oil. Keeping them running is incredibly expensive. For example, forcing Michigan's ancient J.H. Campbell coal plant to operate for just one more year is set to cost ratepayers there an extra $80 million. That's not monopoly money, that's real cash coming out of people's pockets. This isn't an isolated problem. A nationwide analysis from Grid Strategies estimated that this policy of propping up fossil fuel zombies could add over $3 billion a year to customer bills across the country. At the same time, the demand for electricity is surging, thanks in part to new industries like AI data centers that consume power like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Clean energy was our cheapest and fastest way to meet that new demand. By taking it off the table, we've created a perfect storm for unpredictable price spikes. Your utility bill is about to become as volatile as a toddler who's missed their nap. So, while the law was sold with vague promises of strength and independence, its actual effect is to make American families poorer. Every time you flip a light switch, run the air conditioner, or charge your phone, you're now paying a hidden tax to keep outdated, polluting power plants on life support. You are personally subsidizing the past. This isn't about saving an industry, it's about forcing consumers to foot the bill for a bad decision. The One Big Beautiful Bill is turning out to be one big ugly expense for everyone. Let's talk about jobs, because whenever a politician wants to justify doing something questionable, they inevitably claim it's all about creating jobs. Well, in this case, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has done the exact opposite. It has become a brutally efficient job-killing machine, particularly in the solar industry. Before this legislative bomb was dropped, the U.S. solar sector was a powerhouse of employment. In fact, it employed nearly 7 times more American workers than the entire coal industry. These were good-paying local jobs for installers, electricians, engineers, and salespeople in every state. With the sudden death of the federal solar tax credit and the halt on new projects, the industry was thrown into a tailspin. Businesses that had spent years building up their workforce and planning for expansion suddenly faced a fiscal cliff. Without the tax credit, the cost of going solar skyrocketed for customers, causing demand to plummet overnight. As a result, solar companies from coast to coast have been forced into a brutal cycle of layoffs, downsizing, and, in many cases, complete shutdowns. These aren't faceless corporations. These are small and medium-sized local businesses being wiped out. Think about the ripple effect. It's not just the person who was going to install panels on your roof who loses their job. It's the person who manufactured the racking, the driver who delivered the equipment, the administrator who scheduled the appointments, and the salesperson who guided the homeowner through the process. It's an entire ecosystem of employment that is now collapsing. These were the very green jobs we were promised would power the 21st century American economy. Instead of nurturing this growing field, the government took a sledgehammer to it, leaving tens of thousands of skilled workers unemployed. This is a classic case of political goals overriding economic reality. In an effort to prop up a declining and less labor-intensive fossil fuel industry, we have sacrificed a thriving, modern one. It's like trading in a brand new Tesla for a horse and buggy and claiming it's a strategic upgrade. The promises of job security in old energy sectors are a mirage, while the job losses in the clean energy sector are devastatingly real. This wasn't a job creation plan, it was a job heist, stealing opportunities from one of America's most promising industries and leaving countless families in the lurch. Alright, let's move from your house to your driveway. For a while there, it seemed like electric vehicles were finally hitting their stride. They were becoming more affordable, the charging infrastructure was growing, and federal tax credits were helping to nudge people over the finish line. A key incentive was a credit of up to $7,500 that made the price of a new EV competitive with a traditional gas-powered car. It was a crucial tool for helping the average American family make the switch. Well, you can probably guess what happened next. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act took that tax credit, crumpled it up, and threw it in the trash. Suddenly, virtually overnight, the sticker price of a new electric vehicle jumped by as much as $7,500. For many families, that's the difference between maybe we can swing it and absolutely not. This single move stalled the momentum of the EV transition in the United States. While other countries are racing to get more EVs on the road to reduce their reliance on foreign oil and cut pollution, we just made it significantly harder for our own citizens to do so. It's a baffling decision that benefits no one, except perhaps foreign oil producers and, as we'll see, Chinese car manufacturers. This isn't just about the environment, it's about consumer choice and long-term savings. EVs, despite their higher initial cost, are significantly cheaper to own over time. You don't pay for gas and maintenance is far lower. By artificially inflating the upfront cost, the government has pushed this affordable long-term option out of reach for millions. Instead, American families are locked into buying gasoline-powered cars, making them perpetually vulnerable to the wild swings of global oil prices. Every time there's a conflict in the Middle East or a decision by OPEC, you'll feel it at the pump, a pain that EV owners would have been spared. So the dream of a cleaner, cheaper commute has been deferred. The auto industry, which had been investing billions to retool its factories for EV production, now faces a suddenly uncertain domestic market. And for the average person, the choice of what to drive has become more limited and, in the long run, more expensive. The government essentially placed a new tax on progress, a surcharge on innovation, and passed the bill directly to anyone who was hoping to buy a new car in the near future. It's yet another way this beautiful bill has made life more costly for ordinary Americans. So, if the United States is deliberately stepping back from clean energy, who is stepping in to fill the void? The answer, in a word, is China. And this is perhaps the most mind-bogglingly counterproductive outcome of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. For years, there has been bipartisan agreement that the United States needs to compete with China economically, yet with this one law, we have effectively forfeited the race for the most important energy technologies of the 21st century, and handed the winner's trophy directly to Beijing. It's like being in the Super Bowl, and in the fourth quarter, your team decides to walk off the field and go home. China has been strategically and relentlessly investing in renewable energy for over a decade. They dominate the global supply chain for solar panels, manufacturing the vast majority of the world's polysilicon, wafers, cells, and modules. They are also the undisputed leader in battery technology, a critical component not just for electric vehicles, but also for storing wind and solar energy on the grid. While the United States was starting to build its own domestic supply chain to reduce its reliance on China, this new law pulled the plug on those efforts. Now we are more dependent on Chinese manufacturing than ever before. Think about what this means for our national security. Energy independence has been a cornerstone of American foreign policy for half a century. We spent decades trying to wean ourselves off Middle Eastern oil. Now, we are voluntarily creating a new, even more profound dependency on China for the very technologies that will power our future. By gutting our own domestic solar and battery industries, we are ensuring that when we eventually have to come back to clean energy, which is inevitable, we will have to buy it from our chief geopolitical rival. This isn't just a market failure, it's a massive strategic blunder. This policy has single-handedly made China's position as the world's clean energy superpower unassailable. They are continuing to innovate, scale up production, and lower costs, while we are busy arguing about whether to keep a 50-year-old coal plant open for one more year. We had a chance to compete, to build our own industries, and to lead the world in this technological revolution. Instead, we chose to retreat. The result is that China now holds the keys to the global clean energy kingdom, and America just handed them the deed to the castle. If you want to see a real-time preview of the damage this law is causing, look no further than Hawaii. The state is a unique case. It has the highest electricity rates in the nation because it has to import nearly all of its fossil fuels on ships, which is incredibly expensive. Because of this, solar power isn't just an environmental choice in Hawaii, it's a financial lifeline. The federal solar tax credit was essential for making solar affordable for middle-class families, allowing them to escape those crushing utility bills. Now, with that credit set to disappear, the state's solar industry is facing an existential crisis. Local solar leaders have described the end of the federal credit as a sledgehammer to their economy. And they're not being dramatic. Starting in 2026, the out-of-pocket cost for a typical residential solar system in Hawaii is projected to jump by a staggering 75%. This will push solar out of reach for the vast majority of families, locking them into paying exorbitant prices for electricity generated from imported oil. The dream of energy independence for Hawaii, which was so close to becoming a reality, is now fading fast. Massive layoffs are predicted, and solar businesses that have served the community for years are preparing to close their doors for good. This situation perfectly illustrates the backward logic of the new federal policy. Instead of helping an American state become more self-reliant and less dependent on foreign energy, the law is actively forcing it in the opposite direction. Hawaii was on a path to becoming a world leader in renewable energy integration. Now, it's being pushed back into energy poverty, all because of a decision made thousands of miles away in Washington. The local economy will suffer from the job losses, and every family that can no longer afford solar will pay the price on their monthly bills. The story of Hawaii is a warning for the rest of the country. It shows how a one-size-fits-all federal policy, created without regard for local realities, can have catastrophic consequences. What is happening in the islands today, the job losses, the rising costs, the lost opportunities, is a glimpse of what other states can expect as the full impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act takes hold. It's a postcard from the future, and it reads, "Wish you weren't here." Advocates in the state are now desperately trying to get their local legislature to fill the gap, but it's a heavy lift to counteract such a devastating federal blow. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Americans aren't just sitting back and accepting that their energy bills should be higher and their jobs should be shipped overseas. A multi-front resistance to this disastrous policy is already well underway. At the state level, leaders are scrambling to counteract the federal cuts. In places like Hawaii, there are urgent calls for the state legislature to increase its own solar tax credits and create new rebate programs to help low-income families. States are realizing that if the federal government won't lead, they have to step up to protect their citizens and their economies. Meanwhile, in the legal arena, environmental and consumer advocacy groups like Earth Justice are taking the fight to the regulatory commissions. They are challenging the administration's emergency orders to keep old coal and gas plants running, arguing that these moves are illegal and unfairly burden consumers. They are making the case at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and at public utility commissions in every state that clean energy is still the cheapest, fastest, and most reliable way to meet our growing electricity needs. This is the unglamorous trench warfare part of the fight, happening in courtrooms and hearing rooms, but it's absolutely critical. And most importantly, voters are starting to connect the dots. The issue of rising energy costs became a major factor in the 2025 elections. In states like New Jersey, Virginia, and even Georgia, candidates who campaigned on a platform of lowering utility bills by accelerating clean energy saw surprising victories. In Georgia, a state that hadn't elected a Democrat to statewide office since 2006, 2 Democrats won seats on the Public Service Commission. Their entire campaign was focused on protecting consumers from high energy costs. It turns out that people really don't like paying more for things, especially when they don't have to. This political shift shows that the issue is resonating far beyond the usual environmental circles. It's becoming a mainstream pocketbook issue. When your electricity bill doubles, you start paying attention to who is responsible. The argument that sticking with old, expensive energy sources is somehow pro-America is falling apart in the face of real-world costs. This grassroots and political pushback is a clear sign that the debate is far from over. People are fighting back, not because of ideology, but because of the tangible impact these policies are having on their daily lives. So, after all of this, what's the takeaway? It's that this whole mess is not just another political football to be kicked around on cable news. This isn't about red versus blue, or left versus right. This is about fundamental questions that affect every single American. Do you want to pay more or less to keep the lights on? Do you want your country to be a leader in the technologies of the future, or a customer of other nations that are? Do you want more job opportunities in modern industries, or fewer? This is not abstract. This is about the money in your wallet and the opportunities available to your children. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act was framed as a move toward American strength, but its real-world consequences are making us weaker and poorer. It increases our reliance on foreign supply chains, particularly from China, for the most critical technologies of our time. It eliminates tens of thousands of good-paying American jobs in a booming industry. And it directly raises the cost of living for millions of families by making both their electricity and their cars more expensive. It is a policy that achieves the exact opposite of its stated goals, a spectacular own goal on the world stage. True energy independence doesn't come from propping up the failing, dirty energy sources of the last century. It comes from harnessing the abundant, clean, and increasingly cheap resources we have right here at home. The sun that shines on our rooftops and the wind that blows across our plains. Investing in renewable energy isn't just an environmental issue. It's the most patriotic and economically sensible path forward. It's how we lower costs for families, create stable jobs, and ensure that America, not China, leads the next great industrial revolution. Ultimately, this is about the kind of future we want to build. Do we want one where we are at the mercy of volatile global markets and geopolitical rivals, paying ever higher prices for outdated energy? Or do we want a future where America is in control of its own destiny, powered by clean, affordable, and domestically produced energy? The choice is that stark. And it's not a choice that should be made by a handful of politicians in Washington, D.C. It's a choice that affects all of us, and it's one we all need to be paying very close attention to. Because at the end of the day, it's your money, your job, and your future that are on the line.